Okay, so on this one, we're supposed to be working to find out if these are inverses of each other. Much like when I had the problem that I've talked about earlier, when I had 3 times x equals 15, and I multiplied by 1/3 to each side to get rid of the multiply by 3. Remember, multiplying by 1/3 is the same as dividing by 3. When I did that, it left me with just plain old x, right? So it left me with 1x. So if things are inverses of each other, remember when we did, we had like 3x plus 5 is f of x, and we were supposed to find f negative 1 of x, and we swapped x and y, we made it look like this, x equals 3y plus 5, and then we solved it, and we got x minus 5 over 3. And then when we did f of f negative 1 of x, remember we did the function composition. We plugged this into there. So this is taking you back on a memory trip, hopefully. And those 3's canceled out. And we were left with just plain old x. And it would have worked the same way if I'd have taken the other one and plugged it into x there. I'd have 3x plus 5 minus 5 over 3. Those go away, and I'd get 3x over 3. I get plain old x again. Well, that's what the inverse does. It undoes everything that's being done to it. Well, with matrices, what the inverse matrix does, if I multiply them together, I get 1 down the diagonal. I get the identity matrix. Okay, so the identity matrix looks like this. And it just keeps going on like this forever. Okay, so 1's go down the diagonal, and then 0's and 0's, on and so forth forever. That's the identity matrix. So on question 13, it says, determine whether A and B are inverses. So we need to find out if these two are inverse matrices. So what we're going to do is we're going to go A times B. Okay, so in order to be inverse of each other, they have to be square. Okay, we aren't going to ask you to find inverse matrices of things that are not square. By square, I mean it's like a 2 by 2 or 3 by 3 or 4 by 4. So I need to find out if A times B equals B times A, which equals the identity matrix. So to do that, we're going to hurry and multiply these together. So 10 times negative 3, 4 and negative 2 times 1/4, negative 3/8, 1/2, negative 5/4. So I know this is going to be a 2 by 2. So 10 times 1/4 is 10/4. Negative 3 times 1/2 is negative 3/2. So that's first row, first column, first row, second column. That's going to be negative 38, because 10 times negative 3 makes negative 30. Negative 3 times negative 5 is a positive 15/4. So now the second row, 4 times 1/4 is 1. Negative 2 times 1/2, well, half of negative 2 is negative 1. 4 times negative 3/8 is negative 12/8. Negative 2 times negative 5/4 is a positive 10/4. Hopefully I've done all my math right. Now if I get common denominators, if I reduce this becomes 5/2. 5/2 minus 3/2 make 2/2, which equals 1. So I get 1. If I divide this by 2, I get negative 15/4. Plus 15/4, that goes away. I get 0. 1 minus 1 is 0. Divide each of those by 2. That makes negative 6/4. 10 minus 6 is 4/4, which makes 1. So indeed, that gives me the identity matrix. Now I need to do B times A. That was A times B. So B times A. So there's B. Here's A. Two by 2. 1/4 times 10 is 10/4. Negative 3/8 times 4 is negative 12/4. 1/4 times negative 3 is negative 3/4. Negative 3/8 times negative 2 is a positive 6/8. 1/2 times 10 is 5. Negative 5/4 times 4 is negative 5. 1/2 times negative 3 is negative 3/2. 1/2 of negative 2. Let's see. Negative 5/4 times negative 2 is positive 10/4. Okay. So 5 minus 5 in the bottom left-hand corner becomes 0. If I divide each of those by 2, that becomes 3/4. That's 0. This is supposed to be 1, not 1/2. So negative 12/8. There we go. So divide each of those by 2. That makes negative 6/4. So 10 minus 6 is 4. 4 over 4 is 1. If I make that, divide that by 2, that becomes 5/2. 5 minus 3 is 2. Over 2 makes 1. So both of them make the identity matrix, so therefore A and B are inverses of each other. Now a quick way, and then I'll show you how to use your calculator. A quick way to find an inverse matrix, so say I have A, which is 10 over 4, negative 3, negative 2. To find the inverse of A, here's a quick way. We're going to go AD minus BC, so you need to know what AD and BC are. If this is A, B, C, D, okay? So the inverse is AD minus BC, and then we swap A and D, and then these become negative. So now here's our example. Should have done this on a new page. So the A inverse, here's A times D, so 10 times negative 2 is negative 20, minus B times C. So minus 3 times 4 is 12. So minus and minus turns into a positive, so negative 20 plus 12 is negative 8. So this is negative 1 over 8. And then we swap these, so that's negative 2 and 10. And then we change the signs on these. That becomes negative 4 and positive 3. So now all I have to do is distribute this negative 1/8 then. So negative times negative is positive. 1/8 times 2 makes 2/8, which makes 1/4. And then negative 3/8. It's not going to let me write there. So 1/4, negative 3/8. Negative 4 times 1/8, so negative 4 times negative 1/8. Those can reduce, a negative times a negative, so that's 1/2. And negative 1/8 times 10, those reduce, and I get negative 5/4. So that's the inverse of A. If you look up here, it's the same as what B is. So that's how you can find it by hand. This is a quick little formula to do it. The other way to find it by hand, so I'm going to go to my calculator, second matrix, I'm going to edit matrix A. I'm going to make it a 2 by 2. I type in the numbers that I had for A, which were 10, negative 3, 4, negative 2. So there's my matrix. I get out of my matrix menu. I hit second matrix A. That's one I just edited. And I hit that little negative 1, the inverse. And I hit enter. And there are the same numbers as what I had. If I hit math, enter, enter, then it changes it to a fraction. And you can see that it's the same thing as what we had. So to find the inverse, the easiest way to do it is to go to your calculator, edit matrix A, or whatever matrix you choose, go out to your main screen, choose A. Well, go back to your matrix. Select your matrix. So it's A, and then you hit that little button that says X -1, and then it'll show up as A -1 in your screen. Okay? So that's the easiest way to find the matrix, inverse of a matrix. Okay? So if I give you a matrix like number 28 says -2, 5, -4, 1, -2, 1, 1, -5, 9. I say find the inverse of that. Well, go to your calculator, hit second matrix, let me hurry and do something so that you guys can see the original matrix that was there. So 28 was -2, 5, -4, 1, -2, 1, 1, -5, 9. So I hit second matrix, edit. A's a 3 by 3. So I type in my numbers, -2, 5, -4, 1, -2, 1, 1, -5, and 9. Hurry and make sure my numbers are right. -2, 5, -4, 1, -2, 1, 1, -5, 9. So now I go out of my matrix. I go back to my matrix. I choose A, hit the inverse, enter. And if I don't like all these decimals, I hit math, enter, enter. And now there's my answer for my inverse of A. So the inverse of A equals 13 halves, 25 halves, 3 halves, 4, 7, 1, 3 halves, 5 halves, and 1 halves. So that's all you have to do, and that's your answer, and you're done. There is a way to do this all by hand. I'll briefly explain how that would be done. I'm not going to do it. It would take a while. Also, it's the bonus on your quiz. What you do is you put your identity matrix on the right-hand side. And now you do all of the row operations. Okay, so I'm going to swap rows. So I'd have 1, -2, 1, 0, 1, 0, 2, -5, -4, 1, 0, 0, 1, -5, 9, 0, 0, 1. And then this is where we do all of like the row 1, -2 times row 1 plus row 2 makes a new row 2. -1 times row 1 plus row 3 makes a new row 3. So I'd -2 times all this, so I'd have -2, 4, -2, 0, -2, 0, 2, -5, -4, 1, 0, 0. I'd get 0, -1, -6, 1, -2, 0. And -1 times row 1 would be -1, 2, -1, 0, -1, 0. Add that to the bottom row, 5, 9, 0, 0, 1. I get 0, -3, 8, 0, -1, 1. And then, you know, we had like row 2 plus row 3. Well, I'd have to go -3 times row 2. So I would have 0, 3, 18, -3, 6, 0. Add that to this one. 0, -1, 1. Have 0, 0, 26, -3, 5, and 1. And so then I think I messed up somewhere because they aren't working out to be halves and things in here. But once you do this, I think that was supposed to be negative somewhere. I would try to go really fast just to give you an idea. Once you get your bottom row done, so you have 0, 0, 1, number, number, number. 0, 1, 0, number, number, number. 1, 0, 0, number, number, number. The right-hand side is the inverse matrix. So once you make the left side look like the right side, when you're all done, this side down here on the right will be your inverse matrix. So again, I went really fast. I messed up somewhere, but that's the idea of how you would do this if you were to do it by hand. So it is easier to do on the calculator, but wanted to show you kind of a quick run view of how you would do it by hand, and you have to be methodical and precise. So anyways, that is for section 4 on how you would do that.